The alien research vessel Eternal Curiosity drifted silently through the darkness of deep space. Its sleek, silvery hull reflected distant starlight as it moved toward an unusual signal detected at the edge of charted territory. Inside the command center, Chief Researcher Zixalar stared at the holographic display with 6 dark eyes blinking in sequence. "Analysis complete," announced his assistant. "The signal appears to be from an unknown vessel. It does not match any species in our database." Zixalar's mouth tentacles curled in excitement. "A new species? This could be the discovery of the cycle." His gray skin flushed purple with anticipation. "Set course to intercept. Prepare the research teams." The Eternal Curiosity changed direction, its powerful engines glowing blue as it accelerated toward the mysterious signal. Zixalar summoned his senior staff to the conference chamber. They gathered around a circular table, each member representing a different scientific division. "We may have found something truly valuable," Zixalar said. "If this is indeed a new spacefaring species, their technology could greatly benefit our collection." He didn't need to explain further. Everyone understood what that meant. Light years away aboard the USS Defiance, Captain Susan Miller rubbed her tired eyes and studied the damage report on her tablet. The human warship floated in space, its dark hull marked with scorch marks and damaged plating. The battle with space pirates had been unexpected and costly. "Engine status, Patterson?" she asked, looking up at her chief engineer. Greg Patterson shook his head. "Not good, Captain. Main drive is at 30%. We can move, but not quickly. Repairs will take at least 3 days." Susan nodded and turned to her first officer. "Commander Taylor, what about our defenses?" Eric Taylor frowned. "Shields are at minimal power. Weapon systems are offline. We're vulnerable until repairs are complete." "Captain," called out Lieutenant Kate Adams from the communication station, "I'm detecting an approaching vessel. It's not in our database." The bridge crew tensed. After the pirate attack, another encounter was the last thing they needed. "On screen," Susan ordered. The main display showed a strange vessel approaching. It was unlike anything they had seen before, smooth, almost organic in appearance, with no visible weapons. "They're sending a transmission," Kate said. "It's not in any known language." Susan straightened her uniform jacket. "Run it through the translation matrix. Let's see if we can communicate." After several minutes, Kate managed to establish basic communication. The alien vessel identified itself as a scientific research ship called the Eternal Curiosity. They claimed to be peaceful explorers who had never encountered humans before. "They're requesting permission to send a research team aboard," Kate explained. "They say they're interested in cultural exchange and scientific cooperation." Commander Taylor moved closer to Susan. "I don't like this," he whispered. "We're damaged and vulnerable. This could be a trick." Susan considered their options. The aliens seemed peaceful, and this could be an important first contact situation. Additionally, refusing might be seen as hostile. "Tell them we agreed to a small research team only," she decided. "Security protocols remain in effect." 4 hours later, 6 aliens came aboard the USS Defiance. They were tall, gray-skinned beings with 6 eyes arranged in a circle on their faces. Instead of a nose or mouth, they had a cluster of small tentacles that moved when they spoke. They wore simple white garments that seemed to float around their bodies. Zixalar, who identified himself as the leader, bowed deeply. "We are honored by your welcome," he said through a translation device. "Humans are the 57th intelligent species we have encountered in our explorations." Susan maintained a diplomatic smile. "We're pleased to meet you as well. I hope this will be the beginning of peaceful relations between our peoples." The aliens were given a limited tour of the ship, always accompanied by security officers. They seemed particularly interested in human technology, asking detailed questions about the ship's engines, computer systems, and weapons capabilities. "Your species has achieved remarkable technological progress," Zixalar commented. "Especially impressive for such a young spacefaring race." Security Officer Jack Russell watched the aliens carefully. Something about them made him uneasy. He noticed how they seemed to linger near sensitive equipment, how their hands would occasionally brush against control panels. Once, he caught one of them placing a small device on a wall junction, but when confronted, the alien claimed it was just a cultural gift, a good luck charm. Jack reported his concerns to Commander Taylor, who shared them with the captain. "Keep watching them," Susan instructed, "but maintain diplomatic courtesy. We can't risk an incident based on suspicion alone." As the day progressed, more strange occurrences were reported. Communication specialist Amy Nelson detected unusual transmissions being sent to the alien ship. Chief Engineer Patterson found one of the visitors in a restricted engine area, claiming to be lost. That evening, Susan called a private meeting, with her senior officers in her ready room, which they had swept for listening devices. "Thoughts?" she asked simply. "They're lying about something," Jack stated firmly. "Those aren't scientists, at least not just scientists." Kate Adams nodded in agreement. "Their questions are too focused on our military capabilities. They're assessing our strengths and weaknesses." "I detected coded transmissions being sent to their ship," Amy added. "They're definitely sharing information about us." Susan turned to Commander Taylor. "Your assessment? We're being studied, but not for cultural reasons," he said grimly. "I think we're being evaluated as a potential threat, or target." The captain's decision was immediate. "Increase security, but don't let them know we suspect anything." "Patterson, how soon can we have basic defenses online?" "With my team working around the clock? Maybe 12 hours for minimal shields and emergency thrusters." "Make it happen," Susan ordered. She was interrupted by an urgent call from the bridge. "Captain, one of the aliens has been caught attempting to access the main computer core." Susan and her officers rushed to the computer core where Lieutenant Ryan Barnes had a gray-skinned alien pinned against a wall. The alien's hand device was connected to a main data port. "Explain yourself," Susan demanded. The alien's eye circle blinked rapidly. "A misunderstanding. I was merely curious about your information storage methods." "While bypassing 3 security protocols?" Ryan asked angrily. "I don't think so." Suddenly, the alien pressed a hidden button on its wrist device. A high-pitched signal filled the air. "That's a distress beacon," Kate realized aloud. The ship's alarm system activated. "Captain, to the bridge," came the urgent call. "The alien vessel is deploying smaller ships. They're surrounding us." When Susan reached the bridge, the main screen showed at least 8 small craft positioned around the Defiance. "Got a returnal." Curiosity had moved closer, its previously hidden weapon ports now open and glowing. A transmission came through. Zixlar's face appeared on screen, but his demeanor had changed completely. Gone was the humble researcher, replaced by a cold, calculating commander. "Captain Miller," he said, "your vessel and its technology are now property of the Galactic Confederation. Your weapons are offline, your shields are down, and you are surrounded. Surrender your ship and your crew will be permitted to live as research subjects." Susan stood tall, her expression revealing nothing of her inner thoughts. "And if we refuse? Then we will take what we want from the wreckage," Zixlar replied simply. "You have 10 minutes to decide." The transmission ended. Susan looked around at her crew, seeing determination in their eyes. "They wanted to study a human warship," she said quietly. "Let's make sure they regret it." She pressed the ship-wide communication button. "All hands, this is the captain. Initiate Protocol Omega. This is not a drill." Throughout the ship, crew members exchanged knowing glances and moved with new purpose. They had been trained for this scenario, when outgunned, outmanned, and seemingly trapped. But the aliens were about to learn an important lesson. Humans were at their most dangerous when cornered. Captain Susan Miller gathered her senior officers in the Emergency Command Center, a small room deep within the USS Defiance that was shielded from all forms of scanning and signal interception. The faces of her crew showed tension but also resolve. They had trained for situations like this, though never expecting to face alien hostiles. 10 minutes isn't much time," Commander Eric Taylor said, checking his watch. "What's our play, Captain?" Susan looked at each officer in turn. "They think we're helpless. That's our advantage." She turned to Chief Engineer Patterson. Greg, talk to me about that experimental power system you've been working on. Greg's eyes widened. The fusion bypass? It's not approved for use. It could burn out our entire power grid. But it would give us full power to engines and shields, correct? Susan asked. Yes, for about 15 minutes before the system fries itself, Greg admitted. But Captain, that's a one-shot option with no guarantee of success. Susan nodded. Noted. Kate, what have you learned about their communication methods? Lieutenant Kate Adams pulled up data on her tablet. Their signals operate on a frequency band we haven't seen before, but there's a pattern to it. I believe we could disrupt their communications with a targeted electromagnetic pulse. Would it affect our systems too? Susan asked. Not if we shield our equipment first, Kate replied. We'd need about 7 minutes to prepare. Susan turned to navigator Paul Wright. Paul, what's our position relative to that asteroid field? We passed yesterday? Paul brought up a star chart. It's about 3 minutes at full thrust, Captain. Are you thinking of using it for cover? Maybe more than that, Susan said with a hint of a smile. She looked at Security Officer Jack Russell. Jack, I need a team to deploy communication jammers near every access point where the aliens planted their devices. How quickly can you make that happen? 5 minutes, Captain, Jack replied confidently. Lieutenant Ryan Barnes, who had caught the alien hacking their system, spoke up. Captain, when I was struggling with that alien, I noticed something. Their skin seemed to react strangely to my standard-issue stun baton. They're unusually sensitive to certain electromagnetic frequencies. Medical Officer Diane Cooper nodded. That makes sense given their biology. Their nervous system appears to use electrical impulses that are more exposed than ours. A targeted EM burst might incapacitate them temporarily without harming humans. Susan's plan was taking shape. Here's what we're going to do. Greg, prepare your fusion bypass, but don't activate it until my command. Kate, work with Diane to develop a targeted EM pulse that will affect the aliens but not us. Jack, deploy your jammers. Ryan, I want every security officer equipped with modified stun batons at maximum setting. Paul, plot us a course through the densest part of that asteroid field. She checked the time. We have 7 minutes left. Let's move. Crew dispersed with purpose. Throughout the ship, crew members worked with silent efficiency, preparing for what was to come. In the brig, the captured alien researchers watched with growing unease as their guards suddenly left, sealing the doors with additional security measures. On the bridge of the Eternal Curiosity, Zixlar waited impatiently. Any response from the humans? He asked his second-in-command. None, Commander, the officer replied. They appear to be in disarray. Internal communications suggest argument among their leadership. Zixlar's mouth tentacles curled in satisfaction. As expected, lesser species often fracture under pressure. Prepare boarding parties. Once their surrender deadline passes, we'll take the ship by force. Back on the Defiance, Susan returned to the bridge with just 2 minutes remaining. She opened a channel to the alien vessel. This is Captain Miller, she said, allowing a slight tremor in her voice. We wish to discuss terms. Zixlar appeared on screen, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence. There are no terms to discuss, Captain. Surrender your ship or be destroyed. Susan feigned desperation. Please, we need more time. Our crew is frightened. Some want to surrender, others want to fight. I'm losing control of the situation. Zixlar's expression showed contempt. Your internal conflicts are not my concern. You have 1 minute remaining. The transmission ended. Susan straightened and nodded to her communications officer. Send the signal. Throughout the ship, crew members activated their emergency gear. Special visors lowered over their eyes and protective earpieces sealed in place. All stations report ready, Captain, Eric announced. Susan took her seat in the command chair. Jack, activate jammers. Throughout the ship, tiny devices placed near the alien monitoring equipment came to life, sending out targeted interference that would block the aliens from communicating with their devices. Jammers active, Jack reported from security. Susan nodded. Kate, initiate EM sequence. Kate pressed a sequence of commands. EM pulse ready, Captain. Medical team standing by. Diane reported from sickbay. Susan took a deep breath. Greg, activate fusion bypass on my mark. Greg's voice came through slightly strained. Ready, Captain, but remember, once we start this, we have 15 minutes. At most. Understood. Susan waited until the last seconds of the alien ultimatum ticked away. All hands, brace for rapid acceleration. Mark. Several things happened at once. The ship's lights dimmed for a fraction of a second, then blazed back to full brightness. A vibration ran through the deck plates as the experimental power system came online, flooding the ship's systems with energy. On the Eternal Curiosity, Zixlar was just ordering his boarding parties to launch when alarms blared across his bridge. Commander, the human vessel is powering up. Energy readings are spiking to combat levels. Impossible, Zixlar hissed. Their systems were damaged. They're moving, another officer shouted. On the Defiance, Susan gripped her armrests as the ship surged forward, its engines roaring with unexpected power. Full shields, she commanded. The protective energy barrier snapped into place around the ship, its strength far greater than the aliens had anticipated. Set course for the asteroid field, maximum thrust, Susan ordered. The human warship lurched forward, breaking through the formation of smaller alien vessels before they could react. Two of the alien ships collided, trying to reposition. They're pursuing, Captain, Paul reported. As expected, Susan said calmly. Kate, deploy the EM pulse as we enter the asteroid field. The Defiance raced toward the field of tumbling space rocks, the alien vessels in close pursuit. As they crossed the threshold of the field, Kate activated the pulse. A wave of invisible energy radiated outward from the human ship. On the pursuing vessels, the aliens suddenly clutched their heads in pain, their nervous systems overwhelmed by the precisely targeted electromagnetic frequencies. Pulse successful, Kate reported. Alien ships are showing erratic movement patterns. Susan nodded. Paul, execute evasive pattern Delta. Use the asteroids for cover. The human ship dove deeper into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks with precision that seemed impossible for a vessel its size. Two alien pursuit craft, their pilots still disoriented from the pulse, crashed into asteroids. On the Eternal Curiosity, Zixlar was furious. How are they doing this? Their ship was damaged. Unknown, Commander, his science officer replied. But their energy output has tripled. They're demonstrating capabilities not consistent with our intelligence. Reports. Deploy the suppression field, Zixlar ordered. Disable their technology. A green energy wave spread out from the alien mothership, designed to disrupt and disable advanced technology within its range. On the Defiance, warning lights flashed as the wave approached. Suppression field detected, Eric announced. Weapons. Systems going offline. Susan remained calm. Greg, initiate countermeasure sequence. In engineering, Greg Patterson activated a series of modifications he'd made after studying the alien devices they'd found on the ship. Countermeasures active? Captain, but it won't hold forever. The suppression field washed over the Defiance, but its effect was muted, slowing but not stopping the human vessel. Susan opened a ship-wide channel. This is the captain. Phase 1 complete. Begin Phase 2. She turned to her first officer. Eric, you have the bridge. Keep them distracted. Where are you going, Captain? Eric asked. Susan's expression was determined. To prepare our surprise. They wanted to study a human warship. It's time they learned why that was a mistake. As Susan left the bridge, the Defiance continued its desperate flight through the asteroid field, pursued by increasingly frustrated alien vessels. But unlike what the aliens believed, this was not a panicked escape. It was a carefully executed plan leading their enemies exactly where Captain Susan Miller wanted them. The USS Defiance weaved through the asteroid field with precision and speed that surprised the pursuing aliens. Commander Eric Taylor directed the ship's movements from the captain's chair, his eyes fixed on the tactical display showing multiple enemy vessels still in pursuit. Status report, Eric ordered, as the ship shuddered from a near miss by an alien energy weapon. Shields holding at 62%, reported Lieutenant Ryan Barnes from the tactical station. The asteroid field is providing good cover, but they're still on our tail. Kate Adams monitored the communications network. Their coordination is improving. They're adapting to our jamming signals. Eric nodded. That was expected. Maintain evasive pattern delta. Let's keep them focused on us. Deep within the ship, Captain Susan Miller entered a sealed compartment that few of the crew even knew existed. The room was small and bare except for a single control station with a palm reader. She placed her hand on the scanner, which glowed blue as it read her biometrics. Captain Susan Miller. Authorization code, November, Echo Victor Echo Romeo Golf, India Victor Echo Uniform Papa. The console beeped in confirmation, and a hidden panel slid open in the wall, revealing a sophisticated weapons control system that hadn't been on any of the schematics the aliens had accessed. Susan activated the communication link to the bridge. Taylor status? Proceeding as planned, Captain, Eric responded. The aliens are fully committed to the pursuit. All vessels have followed us into the asteroid field. Perfect, Susan said. Weapons Officer Mitchell, report to the secondary control room immediately. In another part of the ship, Lieutenant Jack Russell led a team through a maintenance tunnel toward one of the smaller alien vessels that had attached itself to the outer hull, attempting to cut through. Remember, Jack told his team of 4 security officers, these aliens are vulnerable to our modified stun batons. Aim for the area around their eye cluster for maximum effect. Our goal is to capture the vessel intact. The team positioned themselves around the airlock where the aliens were cutting through. They could hear the high-pitched sound of alien cutting tools on the other side. Ready in 3, 2, 1. The airlock suddenly burst open, and 3 gray-skinned aliens rushed in, weapons raised. Jack and his team moved with practiced efficiency. Their stun batons emitted precisely calibrated electromagnetic pulses that sent the aliens crumpling to the deck, their 6 eyes rolling wildly as their nervous systems overloaded. Clear, Jack called out after checking for more intruders. Begin, Phase 3. On the bridge, Eric received the confirmation from Jack's team. Captain, security report success. They've taken control of one of the alien scout vessels. Susan's voice came through the comm system. Excellent. Navigator Wright, prepare to execute Maneuver Omega-6 on my mark. Paul Wright adjusted the ship's course, threading through a particularly dense cluster of asteroids. Course plotted and ready, Commander. In the captured alien vessel, Jack and 2 of his team quickly familiarized themselves with the controls. The alien technology was strange, but not incomprehensible. One of the security officers had a background in xenotechnology and was able to identify the basic navigation and propulsion systems. I think I've got it, the officer said. Basic movement controls are similar to our shuttles, just arranged differently. Jack nodded. Good enough. Stand by for the captain's signal. In the special weapons control room, Susan was joined by weapons Officer Sam Mitchell, a quiet man with exceptional tactical skills. Status? She asked as he took position at the console. All systems green, Captain, Sam replied. The targeting system is fully operational. They never found this during their snooping around. Susan allowed herself a small smile. The Achilles protocol was designed for exactly this situation. Begin targeting sequence. Meanwhile, on the Eternal Curiosity, Zixalar watched the pursuit with growing frustration. The human vessel was proving far more elusive than anticipated. How are they navigating that asteroid field so effectively? He demanded. Their ship should be crippled. His second-in-command checked the sensor readings. Unknown, Commander. They appear to have knowledge of the field's patterns, possibly pre-mapped. And the suppression field? Only partially effective. They've found some way to shield their critical systems. Zixalar slammed a fist on his command chair. Deploy the harvester drones. I want that ship disabled now. Small, dart-like vessels launched from the Eternal Curiosity, programmed to attach to enemy ships and drain their power systems. They zoomed toward the Defiance, weaving through asteroids with artificial precision. On the Defiance, Kate detected the new threat. Captain, Commander, multiple small objects approaching. They appear to be some kind of automated drones, Smo. Studied the readings. They're designed to attach to our hull, likely to disable our systems. Susan nodded. Right on schedule. Sam, target the largest cluster of drones. Let's show them what we've been hiding. Sam's fingers flew over the controls. Target locked. Fire. A previously hidden panel on the Defiance's hull slid open, revealing a weapon unlike any the aliens had seen before. A pulse of brilliant blue energy shot out, expanding in a wave that engulfed the approaching drones. They simply disappeared, leaving no trace. On the Eternal Curiosity, alarms blared. Commander, the human ship has deployed an unknown weapon. All Harvester drones in Sector 4 have been neutralized. Zixler stood up in shock. What? What kind of weapon can do that? Before his officer could respond, Susan's voice came through their communication system, her tone calm and confident. Alien, vessel, this is Captain Miller of the USS Defiance. That was a demonstration of our phase disruptor technology. As you've just witnessed, it can erase matter from existence. This is your only warning. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will be forced to use it on your ships. Zixalar's mouth tentacles trembled with rage. This is a bluff. No species, at their technological level, could possess such weapons. All ships converge and attack, the alien fleet responded, moving to surround the Defiance. Susan had anticipated this response. They never learn. Eric, execute maneuver Omega-6. The Defiance suddenly changed course, diving toward a massive asteroid. At the last moment, the ship pulled up sharply, using the asteroid's gravity to slingshot itself in a new direction. As planned, this brought the Defiance directly facing the main alien fleet, with the massive asteroid behind the human ship. Now, Jack, Susan ordered over the comm. In the captured alien scout ship, Jack activated the engines. The small vessel emerged from its hiding place on the Defiance's hull, looking like just another piece of debris to the alien sensors. It accelerated silently toward the Eternal Curiosity. Sam, target their engines and weapons. Disable only, Susan commanded. The phase disruptor fired again, this time in a more focused beam. It struck two of the alien escort vessels, instantly disabling their propulsion systems without destroying them. Zixalar was now facing a situation he hadn't prepared for. A supposedly inferior species demonstrating advanced weapon technology and tactical skill that matched or exceeded his own. Fall back to defensive positions, he ordered. Prepare the main cannon. But it was too late for a new strategy. Jack's team had reached the Eternal Curiosity in the stolen scout ship. Using the aliens' own access codes, they docked undetected at a secondary airlock. We're in, Jack reported quietly over his secure comm link. Beginning infiltration, Susan acknowledged and turned to Sam. Begin Phase 4. Target their main cannon and fire when ready. As the alien mothership's main weapon began to power up, glowing with ominous green energy, the Defiance's phase disruptor fired once more. The precision beam struck exactly where the alien ship's weapon connected to its power source. The green glow flickered and died. On the Eternal Curiosity, Zixalar stared in disbelief at the suddenly dark weapon console. Impossible! How did they know exactly where to strike? The answer came moments later when the ship's internal alarms activated. Commander, intruders detected in Section 7. They're humans. Zixalar's 6 eyes widened in shock. The humans hadn't just been running for their lives. They had executed a complex battle plan that had led to this precise moment. As the realization dawned on him, a new message came through from the Defiance. Attention, Eternal Curiosity. Captain Susan Miller's voice was coldly professional. Your main weapon has been neutralized. We have a team aboard your vessel. Stand down immediately, or we will be forced to take more drastic measures. You wanted to study a human warship. Now you're experiencing firsthand why that was a mistake. Silence fell across the bridge of the Eternal Curiosity. Commander Zixalar stood frozen, his 6 eyes blinking rapidly as he processed the human captain's ultimatum. His crew looked to him for direction, but for the first time in his long career, he found himself without a ready solution. Status of the human intruder? He finally asked, his voice unnaturally calm. They've reached the central data core, his security chief reported. Our teams cannot stop them. The humans are using weapons that temporarily disable our nervous systems without harming them. Zixlar's mouth tentacles twitched in agitation. And our fleet? 2 escort vessels disabled. 3 more reporting system failures after attempting to breach the human ship's defenses. The remaining ships are holding position, awaiting orders. Inside the Eternal Curiosity, Jack Russell and his team moved efficiently through the alien corridors. The modified stun batons proved remarkably effective, allowing them to neutralize alien crew members without permanent harm. They reached the ship's vast data center, a cavernous room filled with glowing crystalline structures. Begin the download, Jack ordered one of his officers, who attached a human device to the alien data interface. We need everything they have on their previous conquests. The data transfer began immediately, copying the aliens' records at an astonishing rate. As information flowed into their device, Jack's expression grew increasingly grim. "Captain," he reported over his secure comm link, "you need to see this. These aliens, the Galactic Confederation, they've been doing this for centuries. They find primitive species with valuable technology, study them under false pretenses, then either take what they want by force or manipulate the species into giving up their advancements willingly." On the bridge of the Defiance, Susan received Jack's report with growing concern. "Any indication of other species they've targeted?" "Yes, Captain," Jack replied, his voice tight. "At least 56 other species, according to their records. 3 of them are now extinct, apparently after resisting Confederation harvesting too strongly." Susan's expression hardened. "Copy everything. We're going to need evidence." She turned to Kate Adams. "Open a channel to the Eternal Curiosity. I want to speak with Commander Zixlar again." The alien commander's face appeared on screen, his gray skin now pale with stress. "Captain Miller, I assume you're calling to gloat before destroying us." Susan's voice was level, controlled. "We're not like you, Commander. We don't destroy those who can't fight back. I'm calling to inform you that we've accessed your data archives. We know what your Confederation has done to other species." Zixlar's eye circle narrowed. "You understand nothing. The Confederation brings order to chaotic space. We preserve valuable technologies that would otherwise be lost to primitive civilizations who don't appreciate their true worth." "By force?" Susan asked. "By causing extinctions? That's not preservation, it's theft and genocide." Before Zixlar could respond, an alert sounded on both ships. A new vessel had appeared at the edge of the asteroid field. Massive, sleek, and clearly of Confederation design. "Ah," Zixlar's confidence returned. "The inevitable justice has arrived. You should have destroyed us when you had the chance, Captain. Now you will experience the full might of the Confederation." The new ship dwarfed both the Defiance and the Eternal Curiosity. It moved with deliberate slowness toward their position, its weapon ports glowing with energy. Susan remained calm. "Commander Taylor, status of our special weapons?" "Phase disruptor at 70%, Captain," Eric replied. "Not enough to disable a vessel of that size." Susan nodded. "Jack, what's your team's status?" "Data download complete, Captain," Jack responded. "We've also found something interesting. Internal communications indicating that Zixlar's mission wasn't officially sanctioned by Confederation leadership. He's been operating independently, pursuing aggressive harvesting without proper authorization." This new information changed everything. Susan turned back to the screen where Zixlar was watching with growing unease. "It seems your superiors might not approve of your methods, Commander," Susan said. "I wonder what they'd think of the evidence we've collected." The newly arrived ship established communication with both vessels. A different alien appeared on screen, similar to Zixlar's species but with darker skin and more elaborate clothing. "This is High Commander Vexora of the Confederation vessel Inevitable Justice," the new alien announced. "We detected unauthorized conflict in this sector. Explain yourselves." Zixlar began speaking rapidly, but Susan calmly interrupted. "High Commander, I am Captain Susan Miller of the Earth vessel USS Defiance. We were attacked without provocation by Commander Zixlar after he attempted to infiltrate our ship under false pretenses of scientific exchange." "Lies," Zixlar protested. These humans possess dangerous technology that must be controlled by the Confederation, Susan continued steadily. We have downloaded records from the Eternal Curiosity that document not only the unprovoked attack on our vessel, but also similar actions against other species, actions that resulted in 3 extinctions. My officers are aboard your commander's ship now. We can transfer this evidence to you immediately. High Commander Vexora's expression was unreadable, but the slight quiver of her mouth tentacles suggested concern. Transfer the data. Kate Adams executed the transfer. Minutes passed in tense silence as the High Commander reviewed the information. Finally, Vexora looked up, her 6 eyes fixed on Zixlar. Commander Zixlar, you have violated Confederation protocols regarding first contact and technological acquisition. You have conducted unsanctioned harvesting operations resulting in species extinction. These actions are contrary to Confederation law. Zixlar's confidence collapsed. High Commander, I acted only for the benefit of the Confederation. These technologies would have silence, Vexora commanded. She turned her attention to Susan. Captain Miller, on behalf of the Galactic Confederation, I offer formal apology for Commander Zixlar's actions. He will be removed from command and face judgment for his crimes. Susan nodded acknowledgement. We appreciate your intervention, High Commander. However, this incident raises serious concerns about Confederation policies and practices. Earth will need assurances that similar aggression will not be attempted in the future. Understandable, Vexora replied. I propose a diplomatic meeting to discuss terms of peaceful coexistence between our peoples. Within hours, the situation had transformed. Confederation security forces boarded the Eternal Curiosity, taking Zixlar and his senior officers into custody. Jack and his team returned safely to the Defiance, bringing with them valuable data about the Confederation and its technology. In Captain Miller's ready room, the senior officers gathered to assess their situation. Can we trust this, High Commander Vexora? Eric asked. Susan considered the question carefully. For now, we proceed with caution. The evidence we gathered gives us leverage, but we need to report to Earth Command immediately. This first contact situation just became a lot more complicated. At least they know not to underestimate humans now, Greg Patterson said with a hint of pride. Susan smiled slightly. Indeed. Their attempt to study our warship certainly backfired. 1 week later, the USS Defiance approached Earth space, escorted by 3 Earth Fleet vessels that had been dispatched after receiving Susan's report. Aboard the ship, the crew had spent days repairing damage and preparing detailed accounts of their encounter with the Confederation. In her quarters, Susan reviewed her final report one last time before transmission to Admiral Frank Howard. The concluding paragraph summarized the situation perfectly. While the immediate threat has been neutralized, the Galactic Confederation represents both a potential ally and a possible danger to Earth interests. Their technological capabilities exceed our own in some areas, but our encounter demonstrated that human ingenuity, adaptability, and tactical thinking remain our greatest strengths. Most importantly, the Confederation now understands that humanity cannot be easily subjugated or exploited. The diplomatic negotiations scheduled to begin next month will determine whether we establish peaceful relations or prepare for a more extensive conflict. Either way, Earth stands ready, and the crew of the USS Defiance remains vigilant. Susan sent the report, then stood by her viewport, watching as the blue curve of Earth came into view. Whatever came next, one thing was certain. The Confederation had learned a valuable lesson about humanity, one they wouldn't soon forget.